There are 100 people on death row in the state of Pennsylvania. This is part 8 of the series. Robert Diamond, 15 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced him to death for 2 workplace murders. 2 people, Angel Guadalupe, 46 years old, and Reginald Woodson, 52 years old, were shot and killed by Diamond inside the Simon & Schuster warehouse in Bristol, according to court filings. Robert Diamond was accused by the prosecution of thinking that he was being harassed by minority employees at the warehouse. Albert Perez, 14 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced him to death for a double murder. Perez killed 22-year-old Ducelis Diaz-Santiago and her 5-year-old daughter Kayla, according to court records. Kayla was strung up by her pajamas while Diaz-Santiago was strangled and then hung in a closet. Harvey Johnson, 14 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced him to death for the murder of a 2-year-old. Court filings claim that 2-year-old Darisabel Baez, his girlfriend's child, was brutally beaten by Harvey Johnson. According to medical professionals, the tiny child suffered over 200 injuries during the 45-minute battering. In the couple's York apartment, Harvey Johnson beat 2-year-old Darisabel with a video game cable, one of the girl's hiking boots, and his fists on April 6, 2008. At Hershey Medical Center, the girl passed away the following day. Louis Jordan, 14 years on death row. Jordan carried out 6 armed robberies of North Philadelphia's retail food stores over the course of around 6 weeks in the fall of 2007. In particular, Jordan robbed 3 separate Dunkin' Donuts locations at gunpoint on September 18, 2007, September 21, 2007, and October 13 the same year. He stole from 2 pizzerias on October 20th and October 25th. At last, on October 31st at 10:30 a.m., Jordan went back to the Dunkin' Donuts location where he had committed his initial robbery and once more demanded money at gunpoint from the staff members. Officer Charles Cassidy pulled up in his police attire, parked in front of the store, and unlocked the door as this last theft was taking place. Jordan turned to face the police as he was ready to enter the business, moved 2 steps in his direction, pointed a gun at him, and fired a close-range bullet that struck the officer in the forehead. Jordan left the scene right away, bending over to retrieve the service handgun that had belonged to the fallen officer. Jordan took a bus to Miami on November 3, 2007, where he was detained a few days later, and he returned to Philadelphia. Omar Sharif Kash, 10 years on death row. Kash had a reputation for committing increasingly brutal crimes while evading punishment. In a brutal 3 weeks in the spring of 2008, his criminal career came to an end when he carjacked a couple in Bucks County, he killed a man in Philadelphia, and he assaulted his fiancée. Shortly after, he was taken into custody. Maurice Patterson, 13 years on death row. In March 2007, Eric Sawyer, then 38, was shot twice in the head in a Williamsport alley. The prosecution claims that because Sawyer was collaborating with the authorities, Patterson was informed by his drug-dealing colleagues to order the shooting. Sean Durant, 41 years old, admitted to being the gunman and entered a guilty plea. Nonetheless, he testified that Patterson had orchestrated the shooting. In the same case, another man is incarcerated for life. Kevin Edward Mattison, 13 years on death row. On December 9, 2008, Mattison broke into Christian Agosto's home and stole a pound of Mary Jane before shooting him in the head. Agosto was just 34 years old. Agosto's fiancée, Tiffany Kenny, had received a call from someone informing her that Agosto was seeing someone else. On December 9, 2008, at approximately 11 p.m., Kenny met Mattison and they headed to Agosto's apartment. Agosto and the woman he was with were confronted by Kenny once she entered his apartment. According to the authorities, Mattison followed Kenny into the flat, pulled a revolver, and told everyone to get on the ground. Kenny escaped into the corridor as Mattison insisted Agosto reveal the location of the Mary Jane. After taking the pound of Mary Jane from a kitchen cabinet, Mattison shot Agosto once in the head and then he ran away. Hector Manuel Morales, 13 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced Morales to death for the murder of Ronald Lee Simmons. Hector Morales broke into his residence and shot him numerous times, killing him, according to court filings. Simmons was scheduled to testify against Morales in a federal drug investigation. Michael Eric Ballard, 12 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced Ballard to death for a quadruple murder. Ballard was recently released on parole as per court documents following his incarceration for a murder conviction. After his release, he fatally stabbed his ex-girlfriend Denise Murphy, 39 years old, her father Dennis Marsh, 62 years old, her grandfather Alvin Marsh Jr., 87 years old, and Stephen Zernhelt, 53 years old, a neighbor who had gone over to investigate the noise. Richard Edward Popowski, 12 years on death row. A mother and her 22-year-old son got into a fight over a dog urinating inside the home, which led to the incident that occurred on Saturday, April 4, 2009. 22-year-old Richard Popowski opened fire on two Pittsburgh police officers at around 7:11 a.m. after his mother called 911 to ask the officers to take her son out of the house. In the end, 3 police officers were officially declared deceased, while 2 more suffered critical injuries. Popowski was armed with a semi-automatic AK-47 style rifle, a shotgun, and 3 handguns, all of which were concealed within a bulletproof vest, and he had been waiting for the cops, according to Pittsburgh Police Chief Nathan Harper. He kept the police at bay for 4 hours, witnesses and police claim, while the fallen officers lay bleeding close to the scene and their colleagues were unable to help them. Popowski and the SWAT squads fired more than 600 shots. The fatalities were the first City of Pittsburgh police officers to die while performing their duties in 18 years. After an Oakland, California shooting in March 2009, the incident was the second deadliest attack on U.S. police enforcement since the September 11 attacks. On June 28, 2011, Popowski was found guilty on 3 charges of first-degree murder and given a death by lethal injection sentence. Glenn Lyons, 12 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced Lyon to death for killing Katie Leibig via torture. Court documents state that he stabbed her more than 30 times after becoming enraged when she tried to stop their romance. After stabbing her with kitchen knives, Lyons removed her belongings and threw them in a garbage can along with his hoodie drenched in blood. After that, he went on the run for a few days using drugs before being apprehended in Philadelphia. Michael John Parish, 11 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania condemned Parish to death for the killing of his 23-year-old girlfriend, Victoria Adams, and their 18-month-old son, Sidney Parish. Court records state that after an argument, former correctional officer Michael Parish shot and killed Sidney Parish and Victoria Adams. George Hitcho Jr., 11 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced Hitcho to death for the killing of Robert Lasso, a police officer in Freemansburg, in August of 2011. According to testimony, when the 31-year-old father of 2 knocked on Hitcho's door regarding a fight between him and a neighbor, Hitcho's 2 dogs aggressively approached him. Hitcho shot Lasso in the head with a shotgun through his door, as Lasso withdrew a stun pistol to defend himself from the dogs. Expert witnesses stated that Lasso passed away nearly instantly. Jaim Liddell Towles, 11 years on death row. The state of Pennsylvania sentenced Towles to death for killing Cornell Stewart. After Cornell Stewart finished his performance at a rap concert, Jaim Towles shot and killed him, according to court filings. Towles started an altercation and was kicked out of a club on North 4th Street. He returned with a gun, according to the prosecution, and shot Stewart in the head when he opened fire on a crowd outside the concert. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.